Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, I continue to bring you the love story full of challenges between the single mother Hoai Ca and the young police officer Hung. As you already know, Hung has just been assigned to a new post, a remote area where security is still unstable. In just a short time, he made remarkable achievements by directly participating in the successful arrest of a theft case that had stirred up the whole region. Not only did he save injured people, but Hung also earned great respect from his superiors and teammates for his courage and decisiveness. Yet behind that joy, Hung carried within him a silent emptiness. At night, in the quiet dormitory room, he would look up at the sky, imagining that back home, there was also a young woman gazing at the same sky, Hoai Ca. Meanwhile, in her hometown, Hoai Ca still woke up early every morning. Her hands moved swiftly among the vegetable rows, each drop of sweat mingled with longing. She always told herself, if I can be a little stronger, if I can hold on to faith, then the day Hung returns, we will once again walk hand in hand to continue the unfinished journey. The long distance, the busy work, will it push their love beyond endurance? Or will these very hardships make their bond deeper and stronger? Stay tuned until the end of today's episode to discover what awaits them ahead. When Ha's mother came to visit Hoai Ca yesterday afternoon, she brought heartfelt words from Hung. They weren't just simple greetings, but every sentence carried his sincerity. Don't worry. Hung is always thinking of you and Tony. At his new workplace, his only concern is that you're struggling alone and that the little one is growing up without his father's care. Hearing this, Hoai Ca's heart trembled. In her mind appeared the image of Hung in his stern police uniform, yet with eyes full of love. The fatigue of working alone, the sleepless nights, all of it was suddenly soothed. Tears welled up at the corners of her eyes, but they were tears of happiness mixed with longing. Just then, Tony ran out of the house, holding a small wooden car, chirping, "Mom, I'll be a policeman. When Dad Hung comes home, I'll show him." His innocent words made Hoai Ca laugh, though her smile trembled with emotion. She walked over, hugged Tony tightly, and kissed his sun-scented hair. She whispered, "Yes, my dear boy. Let's wait for Dad Hung together, shall we?" Inside her heart, a new faith was lit. She understood that love is not only about sweet words when close together, but also about resilience when apart. This distance had taught her to cherish every moment and to use love and faith as the strength to keep moving forward. That evening, when the whole village was asleep, Hoai Ca still sat quietly beside the oil lamp. On the table, she took out a blank sheet of paper and, with trembling hands, wrote a few lines to Hung. Within each word lay longing, affection, and determination. "My love, Tony and I are well. Please focus on your duty. Here, I will take care of everything in your stead. Let's both stay strong, the day of your return is not far away." She folded the letter and placed it in a small wooden box, where she kept all her memories of him. That night, Hoai Ca fell asleep peacefully in Tony's arms, a gentle smile on her lips. For she knew that no matter how many miles separated them, Hung's heart always belonged to her and their child. Today, Hoai Ca set foot once more on the land where her old house once proudly stood. It was the very first home she had lived in after so many storms of life, and also the place Hung had devoted himself to buying back, hoping to build a warm nest for the two of them. This land, this house, carried countless memories, the place where their love first began to bloom. The moment the old door creaked faintly, a flood of memories rushed through her mind. She could see Hung, the young policeman, eyes filled with determination, once standing on this porch, hesitant yet sincere as he confessed his feelings. It was also here, beneath the gentle moonlight, that he had proposed to her, nervously slipping a simple silver ring onto her finger, but one overflowing with meaning. I will always be by your side, no matter how hard it gets, he had promised. Now, the house was silent, and only Hoai Ca moved quietly through it. She took a deep breath, letting the scent of wild grass drift past, before bowing her head and getting to work. She gathered the weeds tangled in the yard, cleared away the old sugarcane stalks to prepare for a new crop of vegetables. Each strike of the hoe, each cut of the cane sent sweat dripping down her clothes, yet in her heart rose a warmth she could not describe, for she knew every tree, every handful of soil here held traces of her love with Hung. At times, exhausted, she would sit down on the old stone by the well, sipping water while her gaze wandered into the distance. Hung's image appeared so vividly before her, tall and slender in his police uniform, with a gentle smile and eyes brimming with affection. Her heart clenched painfully with longing. She whispered to herself, "I must not falter. I have to keep going. Just a little more strength, and when he returns, we will once again plant trees together, nurture the soil, and build a new life on this very land." With that, Hoai Ca rose, tightened her calloused hands, and continued working. The steady rhythm of the hoe echoed through the quiet air, like the heartbeat of a woman using love to overcome loneliness and wait for the day of reunion. When the sugarcane field was finally cleared, beads of sweat still clinging to her forehead, Hoai Ca returned home. In the kitchen corner, a basket of ripe avocados she had picked yesterday filled the air with their rich fragrance. She thought of making a few glasses of smoothie to cool off, but there were too many left. She decided to carry them to the market, both to earn a little extra income and to keep the fruit from going to waste. On the familiar path leading to the market, Hoai Ca's figure walked quietly under the scorching sun. On her back, the basket weighed heavily, but heavier still was the longing for Hung pressing on her heart. She remembered the days when he was still here, always quick to carry the load for her, joking, "Let me take it. All you need to do is smile." Now, only she remained, her shadow stretching long across the dusty road. At the market, the scene was as lively as ever, vendors shouting, buyers bargaining, laughter echoing all around. Yet amid the bustling crowd, Hoai Ca felt small and adrift. She laid out her avocados, and customers quickly gathered, drawn by their ripeness and quality. Soon enough, the basket was empty. Buyers left satisfied, sellers chattered cheerfully, but for Hoai Ca, the joy was incomplete, lacking the fullness of past days. As she handed the last few coins of change to her final customer, her hands trembled slightly. A sudden emptiness surged within her, weighing down her heart. Though Hung had been gone only a short while, to her it felt like an eternity since they had truly connected. Their memories together remained sharp, yet his presence was painfully absent. Her steps home were slow and heavy, each one laden with longing and unshakable ache. Inside, she softly called his name. "Hung, do you still think of me and our child?" The evening breeze rustled through the bamboo grove, as if whispering back to her. She smiled faintly, a sorrowful smile, then continued on her way, carrying with her the hope that one day Hung would return, and the emptiness in her heart would no longer be alone. As for Hung, he barely slept a wink last night. In the silence of the dormitory, the yellow lamp cast its glow across the desk, his shadow stretching long on the wall. Outside, the wind rustled through the trees, but inside his heart was even louder, filled with longing for Hoai Ca and Tony. Sitting quietly by the window, Hung gazed at the night sky where the stars twinkled. He asked himself, what is Hoai Ca doing right now? Does she think of me the way I'm thinking of her? Images flooded his mind, her bent over the basket of avocados, her roughened hands from work, the nights she held Tony close as they both drifted off in their little house. Each memory made his heart ache. He knew he couldn't let their love remain only as longing. He needed to act, to create change. Hung told himself that first, he must work harder, achieve more, and secure a firm place in his career. Only then could he give Hoai Ca and Tony a stable, comfortable life without hardship. The very first thing he longed to do was buy her a phone. At least, we could hear each other's voices, even see each other through the screen, though from afar, he thought, his hand tightening in resolve. Beyond that, an even stronger desire burned in him, to one day request a transfer closer to Hoai Ca's hometown. He wanted to be there to care for her, to walk with her to the market, to help carry the basket of avocados, and to hold Tony in his own arms every day. He knew it wasn't possible yet, but his belief had never been stronger. Lying back on the bed, his eyes remained open, staring at the ceiling. Deep inside, he whispered, "Hoai Ca, please wait for me. For you, for Tony, I will give everything I have. The day will come when we will no longer be apart." That night, Hung finally drifted into sleep, exhausted, but with a faint smile lingering on his lips. For now he had a purpose, a reason to grow stronger, his love for Hoai Ca and little Tony. The next morning, Hung woke up early. In the dormitory, he and his colleague prepared their uniforms carefully, checking through their documents and notes before heading to the station. The morning sunlight streamed through the window, highlighting his determined face, though shadowed by quiet worries. He knew today would be an important day. At headquarters, his superior was waiting. In the small meeting room, the commanding voice of the officer filled the air. "You will accompany the village chief and the abbot of the local temple to the most remote areas in our jurisdiction. The people there still face many hardships, their level of awareness is low, many families still practice early marriage, and domestic violence remains. Your duty is to explain, to help them understand the law, the rights and responsibilities of each person in marriage." Hung nodded firmly. He knew this was not just routine work but a great responsibility, bringing knowledge and progress to the people, helping them recognize the value of family happiness and build a better life. Leaving the station, Hung, his colleague, and the village chief set off. Their old motorbike rattled along the rugged red dirt road, thick forest stretching on both sides. In the distance, the mountains loomed through the morning mist as if testing their resolve. At the village entrance, the abbot was waiting. A kind and gentle man, deeply familiar with local customs, his presence gave Hung even more confidence. Together, the group ventured deeper inside, ready to face a long day ahead, full of hardships, but also filled with meaning. Within Hung's heart, pride mixed with longing. He knew that if Hoai Ca could see him now, she would surely smile with pride. And that thought alone gave him the strength to keep walking forward without hesitation. The area assigned to Hung and his colleagues today was truly remote and difficult to reach. The road into the village twisted and turned, rough and broken, with loose rocks tumbling down the steep slopes. At some points, the team had to dismount and push their motorbikes through thick, sticky mud. At others, they carefully waded across icy, fast-flowing streams that numbed their feet. On Hung's back was a heavy backpack stuffed with documents and leaflets. Sweat soaked his shirt, his shoes were caked in mud, yet his steps never faltered. He knew that beyond these grueling paths were families, people who still lived with hardship, who needed guidance and support. The group had set out at dawn, when the sun was just peeking over the mountains. By the time they reached the first scattered houses, the sun was already high and scorching. The population here was sparse, with each home separated by an entire hill, accessible only by narrow trails. Hung and his colleagues made sure not to miss a single household. They knocked on the crooked doors of thatched cottages, calling out the families by name with warm voices. Some households welcomed them in kindly, offering cups of hot tea. Others were hesitant, peeking out through half-open doors, unsure whether to engage. Seeing this, Hung would patiently sit down on the earthen steps, telling familiar stories, using simple words to explain about the legal age for marriage, the consequences of marrying too young, about children as young as 15 or 16 being forced into family responsibilities that buried their futures in poverty. At first, many reacted with indifference. Some chuckled shyly and said, "It's always been this way here. When the children grow up, we marry them off early. It's what we're used to." But with Hung's sincerity and steady gaze, people gradually began to listen. He didn't speak only with logic, but also with compassion. He shared real stories he had witnessed, the suffering of women enduring domestic violence, the tears of children forced to carry babies when they should still be carrying schoolbooks. The village chief and the abbot added their voices, using their authority and deep understanding of local customs to reinforce the message. Slowly, villagers nodded in agreement. A few young men who had initially avoided the meeting now sat down, bashfully admitting, "I'll try to continue my studies. Once I have a career, then I'll think about marriage." Those awkward words warmed Hung's heart. He knew that changing mindsets couldn't happen in a single day, but today, even planting a few seeds of awareness meant that one day, they might grow strong. As the sun tilted westward, casting a soft golden glow over the scattered rooftops, the team still hadn't rested. They pressed on, visiting every last household. Each farewell was heartfelt, villagers clasped Hung's hand tightly. One elder, moved to tears, said, "Thanks to you policemen, we finally understand so much more. Please come back again to help us." Hearing this, Hung smiled, his heart swelling with pride and emotion. He knew the path ahead would remain long and difficult, but this was the mission he had chosen, and it was what gave him the strength to stay true to his path. On the way back to the station, as evening descended and the mountain breeze turned cool, Hung's mind was filled with thoughts of Hoai Ca. He thought, if she could see me today, she would surely smile with pride. And that is exactly the reason I can never give up. Today, Hung and his colleagues truly gave their all. Under the scorching sun, along dusty dirt roads littered with rocks, they still pressed on, visiting every single home in the village. At times they climbed steep slopes, at times they pushed their bikes across shallow streams lined with sharp stones, clothes soaked and shoes caked in mud. Yet no one complained. They knew that each step, each word of advice carried the hope of helping a family escape the suffering of early marriage or domestic violence. Sitting with the villagers on the cool earthen steps, Hung spoke gently. At first, many were cautious, some shook their heads, others stayed silent. But gradually, as they listened to his stories of unhappy lives ruined by underage marriage, of families torn apart by ignorance and violence, their eyes began to change. From hesitation to focus, from indifference to nods of agreement. A middle-aged woman, her voice trembling with emotion, said, "I never realized marrying too young could bring so much harm. From now on, I will try to encourage my children to keep studying." Hearing those words, Hung felt a warmth rise in his chest. The work was exhausting, but truly meaningful. He could feel clearly that he and his teammates were sowing seeds for a better future. By dusk, the team finally returned to headquarters. Everyone was worn out, their clothes stained with dust, but light smiles spread across their faces. During the short debriefing, Hung stood up, his voice steady with determination, though tinged with longing. "Sir, if possible, I'd like to request the nearest day off so I can return home." The superior was silent for a moment, then, looking at their achievements, slowly nodded. "You've done very well. Your contribution is commendable. I'll consider it, perhaps you can take leave sooner than the rules allow." At that moment, Hung felt a heavy burden lift from his heart. A pure joy surged through him, like a child eager to return to his family's embrace. Inwardly, he whispered, "It's almost time. I'll soon see Hoai Ca and Tony again." That night, when the dormitory had fallen silent, Hung still sat alone in his small room. The desk lamp cast its glow over the pages of his notebook. With trembling hand, he wrote a few short lines, heavy with longing. "Hoai Ca, are you and Tony doing well? I miss you so much. I'm working hard every day so I can return to you both soon. Please wait for me, just a little longer." Laying down the pen, Hung gently closed his eyes. In his mind appeared Hoai Ca's kind face, Tony's bright smile. That image was like a flame warming his heart in the quiet night. The light stayed on late, illuminating the still figure of the young policeman. Inside him, beyond the longing, burned a strong determination to strive harder, so the day of reunion would no longer be far away. When he returned, it would not be with love alone, but also with the strength to be a lifelong pillar for Hoai Ca and Tony. And so, the distance between Hung and Hoai Ca now feels like an invisible wall, forcing them each day to sink into endless longing. At his remote post, Hung wrestles with the question, how can he both fulfill his duty and hold on to his love for Hoai Ca and Tony? Meanwhile, back home, Hoai Ca quietly shoulders the weight of work, striving to be both a devoted mother and the emotional anchor for the man far away. Sleepless nights, mornings heavy with longing. Will their love be strong enough to withstand the harsh test of time and distance? Can they hold on to their faith in each other, until the day they are reunited in an embrace once more? All of it still remains an open question. Stay tuned for the next episode to see where the love story of Hung and Hoai Ca will lead.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Hôm nay thì mình tiếp tục đưa đến với mọi người câu chuyện tình yêu của mẹ đơn thân lính Hoai Ca và cảnh sát Hùng. Mọi người thân mến, thì ở trong tập trước mọi người cũng đã biết là mẹ đơn thân và cảnh sát Hùng hiện tại đang phải yêu xa vì Hùng phải chuyển đi một nơi công tác khá là xa. Vì thế nên là hai người tạm thời phải xa nhau. Còn Hoai Ca thì phải ở lại căn nhà mà cô vẫn hay ở đấy mọi người. Tuy nhiên là Hùng đã lập công ở chỗ cơ quan mới và hiện tại anh đang xin cấp trên là có thể về nghỉ phép vài ngày để về thăm nhà, và cấp trên đang cân nhắc về việc này. Điều này khiến cho Hùng rất vui vì có thể anh sắp được về thăm Hoai Ca và Tony rồi. Vậy liệu tình yêu của họ khi ở xa nhau như thế này thì có thể bền chặt không, và họ sẽ làm gì để giữ vững tình yêu này? Thì chúng ta hãy cùng đón xem những giải đáp thắc mắc này vào tập sau nhé mọi người. Và nếu như yêu quý kênh mình cũng như là yêu quý các nhân vật thì nhớ đăng ký kênh, sau đó bật chuông thông báo nhé.